How's it going, everybody? You guys know that I've been talking about the live service model quite a bit on this channel, and really, we've been talking about it for a few years. As soon as it became abundantly clear to me that a lot of publishers that in the past were focusing very much on single-player titles, and they were shifting their single-player titles to focus more on live service, and then there were other publishers that were completely throwing away everything that they did in the past and then tasked their studios to work on live service games, so on and so forth. Once live service as a model became such an integral factor for your Sonys, your Square Enixes, your EAs, your Ubisofts of the world, so many big-time publishers are going the live service route for so many of their games, it obviously needed to be a discussion point, and with that, you've got games like Helldivers 2 that certainly do pop off and become incredibly successful. However, even more than that, there are so many games that do flop. There are so many games that come out, have buzz for maybe a couple of days, maybe a week if you're lucky, and then they completely fall off the face of the earth. And we have the latest one here, and that is Foamstars. Now, the interesting thing about Foamstars is that for whatever reason, it was a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 console exclusive. Truly, for games like this, they really should be on every single platform. You should try to get these games on every platform and try to increase the exposure of the game to as many platforms as possible. I don't know if Sony was of the mindset that, hey, we gotta pay money to get Foamstars as an exclusive. I don't know. Like, I'm all for wanting exclusive games. I can understand that. I'm not into timed exclusives and that nonsense, but I can understand from a Sony standpoint, yo, we gotta get these compelling games as exclusives. I don't know why they looked at Foamstars and was like, this is the game we gotta sign a deal for. I don't know if that was the case, but it being on PS4 and PS5 exclusively makes absolutely no sense. Now, this is actually a pay-to-play game. It's $29.99. However, the caveat to that is it was a PlayStation Plus Essential launch game back in February. When February kicked off and Foamstars dropped, Foamstars was baked into PS Plus Essential as a free title. And guess what? As an online title, you need PS Plus to play the game anyway, so essentially, for the first month, it was a free game, and it's not like it's a free game just for that month. No, you add it to your library. As long as you're a Plus subscriber, it is yours to own forever. So it essentially was a free-to-play game, a kind of free-to-play game, I guess, for a month, but then, you know, most people redeemed it. However you want to interpret it. However, a game like this that did come out as a free plus title has now dropped nearly 95% of its player base on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, going back to February of 2024, as noted on True Trophies, using gameplay data from over 3.1 million active PSN accounts, courtesy of the partnership they have with Game Insights. We had previously reported that Foamstars' initial PS5 and PS4 player count had already began to fall shortly after the game's day one as one of February 2024's monthly PS Plus titles. Since then, 2 months later, the player count has dropped 94.92% from its debut player count, data taken from the week ending on Sunday, April 7, 2024. Now, usually, I am not a big fan of these statistics. Stats like this, they can be very misleading, especially how sometimes they are baked into certain headlines. Like, I remember when Elden Ring came out, and a couple months after Elden Ring's release, I remember vividly seeing a headline that was like, Elden Ring has lost 80% of its player base from launch, or some number like that, 70%, 80%, something like that. Like, yeah, bro, Elden Ring is a single-player game. People are gonna play through it. There are gonna be some people that are gonna do New Game Plus 87, but most people are gonna play through it once, maybe twice, and then they're gonna move on, and then there's gonna be those people that, you know, bought Elden Ring, didn't know what they were gonna get themselves into, and then dropped the game. But you get the idea. In a lot of cases, games are always 99% of the times going to peak day one or week one. There are some games that buck the trend. A Pal World, you know, peaked over the course of the first 2 weeks. Helldivers 2 peaked over the course of a little bit of time, especially with the server issues. But a game's interest is always going to be at a fever pitch at its peak day one or week one, generally speaking. It's very hard to recapture the interest, although You'll have titles that drop expansions, like I'm sure, based on, you know, the rumblings I'm hearing about Destiny 2 right now, I think Destiny 2 is gonna beat its all-time concurrent player count when Final Shape drops, for example. That's an opinion I have. Don't come at me for having that opinion. I'm talking about Steam concurrent player count because I was looking at the graph yesterday just because one of my boys was talking about Final Shape. But you get the idea. Generally speaking, you're not gonna have the majority of games beating their day 1 or week 1 concurrent player count and peak concurrent player count months after release. But to lose 95% of your concurrent player base, that is a staggering number, especially because it's only been 2 months. When you look at games that are actually successful as far as the live service model goes, Helldivers 2 is a fairly good case study of where you want to settle in at 2 months after release. Now, obviously, Helldivers 2 has been a widely successful game, and it's on the opposite end of success from Foamstars, but to give you an idea, Helldivers 2, as far as Steam concurrent player counts, was around the 400,000 number as far as concurrent players go on Steam. It peaked at exactly 458,709 concurrent players. Right now, there's 206,000 players playing the game, and its 24-hour peak was 253,000 players. A significant drop-off. Like, let's be real, even for a successful game like Helldivers 2, you could easily make an article that's like, Helldivers 2 has lost 50% of its player base, and to the naked eye, as a title, as a headline, that sounds very like, oh, that's pretty alarming. It lost 50% of its player base. But losing 50% of your player base, as wild as that sounds, as far as concurrent peak goes, that's not a big deal. 50% is a perfectly suitable number to fall off from your all-time peak a few months ago after release. That is totally fine. In the case of Foamstars, we're talking 2 months later, when you're getting to numbers like 95%, okay, that is getting pretty dicey. And Foamstars was one of those games that there were people that played it and actually did enjoy the game, but we'll go back to the same thing as far as live service games go. Live service games is not going to be an avenue where a lot of games can pop off. That is just not the reality. It is literally, let me reiterate that, literally impossible for the majority of live service games to pop off, because while money is finite to a lot of people, you know what's even more finite than money? Time. And what is the goal of live service games? It is to invest your time into the game. That's what the publisher wants. They want you to invest time in perpetuity for a lengthy period of time. Well, guess what? If there's 80 billion live service games on the market, nobody can juggle multiple live service games at the same time. Maybe you could do 2, maybe 3 at most, but for the most part, you gotta be invested into your games. Like most people, and this is anecdotal from who I speak to, usually they have one live service game that they're super into at any given time, and then they have other games that they're playing to complement those experiences. Like, for example, one of my boys, like I was saying, super into Destiny 2, he pretty much isn't into any other live service game at the moment, but he'll play other games outside of that, you know, and if you want to consider, like, he'll play Assassin's Creed, like, I guess that's a live service game as well. That's just a monetized single-player game that is live servicey, but you get the idea. For a game that lives and dies off of its player base and its investment from the players, those games, at the end of the day, they all can't be successful. It is literally impossible just when you look at it from a time standpoint, and Helldivers 2, all the credit in the world, it's been a success, even though you can say it's lost 50% of its user base. 50% is nothing. Congrats to you, Helldivers, and especially, doesn't even matter what percentage you lose, but what type of player base are you stabilizing at? If you're stabilizing at 150,000 players that are spending money at the game, or even a portion are spending money, bro, you got a W, take your W all the way, and you won the live service game. In the case of Foamstars, when you lose 95% of your player base this quickly, that's dicey, but at the same time, this is a reality with the live service model. There is just so much time. It's not like in the case of Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 comes out in October, you buy the game, you're probably playing that game for 2 weeks to a month at most. Like, how many people are just gonna play Spider-Man 2 over and over again? Maybe y'all exist, but usually you're gonna finish up your time with Spider-Man 2 in a month at most. most people that I talked to finished up Spider-Man 2 within like a week. So, you know, that's generally how it goes when you talk about those styles of games. You buy it for $70, you play through it, and then guess what? You're ready to spend another $70. But when you have these games that, like a Foamstars, which, you know, it is $30, but most people got it for free. The idea is you could monetize it on the back end, and you could get player investment on the back end, whether it be, you know, updates, expansions, whatever you want to do. You try to monetize these games on the back end. That's just not possible if you don't have player investment. Where in the case of Spider-Man 2, you know, maybe you won't have player investment for a lengthy period of time, but once you got the $70, clean it up, you got your W. You sold millions upon millions of copies, and the game was a home run success. Now, obviously, Spider-Man 2 is at the pinnacle of single-player game successes in that market as well. You'll have your Immortals of Aveums, you'll have your Forspokens, you'll have your Callisto Protocols. It's not just like doing a $70 single-player game is going to be a W, but they're different business models, and I would say that in the case of Spider-Man 2 style of business model, there's more room, just generally speaking, based on the time element of it, for more games to succeed rather than the live service model, where the top level games in the live service model, oh, they're gonna be eating very well. They're gonna be making tons of money, but you're talking about the top X percent. I really can't quantify it as far as how many percentage there is because I'm not following every live service game, but the bottom majority percent, bro, you just sunk a lot of money into it and they're going to the wayside. That's why you have so many publishers being like, we're gonna release 25 live service games by X year. Like, I think it was 25 live service games that Sony was saying, or it was a ridiculous amount. Ubisoft was saying the same thing. Nobody in their right mind thinks all of those games are going to succeed. It's literally impossible. There is no fathomable way for every single one of those games to succeed. But if you're releasing 25 games, just by, you know, mathematical standpoints, if 10% of those games succeed, 2 to 3 games of those 25 succeed, bro, we got 2 to 3 money makers for several years. That's a W, or I assume to them that would be a W, but that's gonna do it for me. I know I rant about live service quite a lot, but Foamstars is yet another one that is kind of falling apart, and I don't think there's gonna be a lot of revitalizing it. I guess they could do a PC release, a Nintendo Switch release, an Xbox release, but how much success is that gonna have? I don't know, but that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. As always, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.